Good evening and welcome. I am Amarachi Ubani. Tonight, fuel scarcity bites harder across the country. Petrol now sells between 130 and about 300 naira. Rescued women and children from Borno State handed over to the National Emergency Management Agency by the military. Labour unions in the country battle for peace with the era of two presidents presiding. And UK voters prepare for the polls as the incumbent Prime Minister David Cameron struggles with re-election. We begin tonight with the biting fuel scarcity in most parts of the country, which is now followed by a sharp increase in pump price. While most of the service stations are closed, the ones with the products are selling for between 140 naira per litre to 300 naira. Our correspondent Loretta Chogo has an update on the fuel situation.
Vehicle queues are yet to disappear, while the long lines of kegs used as reservoir keep extending as the fuel scarcity bites harder. Consumers in Lagos State complain bitterly, condemning the recurring scarcity of fuel this year. At some major oil stations, marketers are selling at government-approved price of 87 naira, while independent marketers sell above that price.
For the past 2-3 days now, I haven't found it easy to get fuel. The last one I bought was I think I bought about 30 liters from a black market at about 5,000 naira, and with even I have to even beg because I needed to travel.
It's very bad. I happen not to be a high consumer of fuel, so when I buy fuel into my car if I have a full tank, I can run it for the whole week. But I'm just concerned for people who do transportation. It's not been easy at all. I mean, there's so much risk. The risk of queuing in the petrol station, anything can happen. The risk of buying fuel into your jerry cans and conveying it to the house. The risk of keeping fuel in the house itself is a big problem. And it caught us unawares, and it's not the best for this country at this time at all.
The same tale is replicated in Kaduna State, northwest Nigeria. The effect of the fuel scarcity is affecting economic activities in the state. Queues continue to lengthen as fuel attendants sell above the 87 naira government-approved pump price. The situation is rather giving a boom to black marketers' business who sell at cutthroat prices.
I've been here since 6 o'clock in the morning, and so I want to travel tomorrow, so I have to kill the whole of today so that I can get fuel.
Let it be available to all. Do we have to beg for it? We don't have to. Please, make it available.
Daily delivery of PMS in the state has dropped from 50 trucks to 22 in a state with over 6 million people. Residents want the incoming government to find a lasting solution to the challenges in the oil and gas sector, even as the product sells at over 130 naira per litre. Some fuel stations in Delta State, South Nigeria, look to have the product now, but there's no erasing a hike in price. The federal government claims to have released 156 billion naira owed oil marketers, but the effect is yet to be visible. Loretta Chogo, Channels Television News.
In the meantime, the federal government today called on oil marketers to show patriotism in their dealing with the government over the arrears owed them. The Minister of Finance and Coordinated Minister of the Economy, Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, told journalists in Abuja that contrary to claims by marketers that they're being owed 200 billion naira, that the actual amount that's pending is 131 billion naira. Although major oil marketers have confirmed that 154 billion naira of the 354 billion naira have been paid so far. But the minister disagreed with the figures, insisting that the balance that's left on Petroleum Pricing Product Regulatory Agency's template is 131 billion. Well, 275 women and children rescued from the Boko Haram sect have been handed over to the National Emergency Management Agency by the Nigerian Army. The first batch, which was handed over to NEMA in Yola, the Adamawa state capital, now becomes the full responsibility of the agency. Many of the children looked severely malnourished, while some of the women held in captivity for almost 12 months were unable to either walk or talk audibly on arrival. Our correspondent Gloria Umezoke tells us more.
14 trucks from the Nigerian Army, Yola, fully loaded with women and children, arrived at about 6:30 p.m. with hunger, uncertainty and deep sorrow clearly written on their faces. They disembarked to meet their caretakers, officials of the National Emergency Management Agency. 275 of the hostages, mostly children, were handed over to the National and State Emergency Management Agency officials who had been waiting for 2 days for their arrival. The officials immediately began documentation as cries of malnourished children rent the air. 69 women and 206 children were each given a cup of tea and bread to quell hunger and thirst as they were moved to the IDP camp. A week-old baby delivered in Sambisa Forest was among 21 other injured people instantly taken to the Federal Medical Center, Yola, for treatment. It took several hours into the night to sort out the victims.
On behalf of the Nigerian Army, I'm handing over 275 IDPs rescued from Sambisa Forest to the NEMA people.
I lack words to express my own feelings, like any other person of you here. We've seen the situation in which these people have been brought. They are now under our custody. Together with you, we shall give them the dignity it takes to be a Nigerian. So
we know that this group is a different, their needs may be different, but they are not needs that the setup that we have in the camp already cannot handle.
This is the first batch of rescued women and children handed over to NEMA. These clearly traumatized victims would in the days ahead undergo intense trauma counseling and social training to help them bounce back to the normal life before the Sambisa abduction. Gloria Umezuke, Channels Television News.
With the polls out of the way, some elected National Assembly members in Edo State are already outlining their plans on how to improve the quality of representation. In an interview with Channels Television in Benin City, the Edo State capital, the newly elected lawmakers say they hope to focus on youth and women empowerment, in addition to giving voice to the voiceless.
After a long and winding campaign characterized by hate speeches and promises from the contestants, the 2015 general election finally held, with winners and losers emerging from the exercise. While the losers were licking their wounds, wondering what went wrong, some elected legislators in Edo State are already outlining plans on how they can make maximum impact in their new assignment.
Because my area focus is let me quickly develop and empower my youths, take them off the streets.
I want to be a voice to the voiceless. I want to be able to speak on behalf of the people. So I think nothing short of effective and quality representation is what my people will get.
Besides their own assignments which they hope to carry out during their time at the National Assembly, these elected lawmakers also have some words of advice for the president-elect.
If you can fix the power sector, I can tell you the GDP and the economic growth that Ekojeola is talking on newspaper, it will go beyond newspaper, and you see the Nigerian being one of the largest economy will be reflecting on the faces of the average poor Nigerian.
For you to succeed, you must be focused and realize that this country belongs to all of us all. Regardless of where you are coming from, see a northerner, Southerner, those from the west, those from the east, as part of you, we are one Nigeria.
Although these lawmakers belong to different political parties, they condemn the massive rate of defection to the APC in the aftermath of the party's victory at the polls.
If you really believe in your party, regardless of what is happening, you should stay in to add your own value. If you destroy your own and you are running somewhere else, and I bet you probably go there also destroy the place.
For me, it's not healthy. Why it's not healthy is that we need an opposition that can criticize constructively and put the government in power on their toes to be able to deliver on their promises.
Going forward, one of the lessons screaming from the rooftops to everyone willing to be realistic is that the days of election rigging are over, and that the people's votes count now more than ever before.
In part two after the break, labor movements in Nigeria under threat as two parallel presidents preside. Please stay with us.